Danielle, how are you?
Hi, I'm okay. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Thank you for joining me on the coaching session today. So I think this will be an interesting discussion. I think hopefully whoever's listening to this will get something out of it. Um, just before we get started, so the audience knows what's going on. You're 23, almost 24.
Right,
Your ex is 27 years old.
right.
You were together for 2 years and you broke up December 2022.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. All right. So I'm going to stay quiet for the first half of this conversation. I just want you
Mhm.
to tell me your story in a safe space.
Okay.
No judgment. You start wherever you feel comfortable, and in the second half of the conversation, I'll tell you what I think, and we'll
Hmm.
try and get you some answers. Try and get you feeling better and pointed in the right direction. Okay.
Okay.
How can I help you?
So I should I just get started about our story, maybe?
Yeah, wherever you want to start. You can start with how did you break up, or how did you get together? What was the relationship like? Wherever you feel comfortable.
Okay. So when I first met him, I was actually not really looking for anything. I was like casually dating and like living my best life. I broke up from someone I knew I didn't love. That's why I broke up. Like I had a fresh start. I wasn't planning to meet anyone. And then I got to meet him. And we've been on these incredible dates. We always kept talking, like meeting from, I don't know, from evening till sunrise, and everything was in the honeymoon so perfect. And like, I could not believe that this kind of thing is really happening to me because I was in a lot of toxic relationships before. Um, and actually, I can say retrospective that I noticed red flags at the beginning. Like I had to ask him in phone calls to ask how I were, but like I'm talking about dating 2 months only, not not in a very long relationship yet. But I guess I ignored it because I really fell in love and I really believed and I knew how to communicate very well. I just trusted him that it will be okay. And as time passed, there were more and more red flags that started to hurt me. And instead of looking at him and saying, wait, what's going on? Why are you doing this? I can give you a good example of keep like non-stop talking about his ex and her body and how he felt about her and stuff like that. Or I don't know, when we are with friends, he's completely ditching me and letting me go by myself alone. A lot of stuff that began to make me feel not confident with him. But again, I was so in love. Like I thought before I met him that I knew what love is and all the cliches, and it was like completely like something else. Um, so yeah. Another thing is that he never really tried to meet any of my friends. He knew them and he went to my home a lot and met my family, but not any deep connections. And for me, I've been with all of his family and all of his friends. They still love me. They still like when they see me on the street, they hug me. For me, it was so important to do that. Um, but because of that, I guess I wasn't aware that it kept making me feel not really connected, like him not being so connected. But again, I was ignoring so many stuff. I didn't realize that it's actually happening. And I started to take the blame on myself. And when I tried to communicate stuff, he kind of also took the blame on me. And it took me a lot of time to understand that. I'm talking now after a lot of time reflecting and talking to a therapist and with my friends. So I can say it now with confidence. But yeah, but things were, we were making it work. And then actually year dating, and he's talking about moving in with me and about marriage and stuff. And I'm too young for this. I don't care for that. But you love him. It's nice that the guy you're dating want to marry you and want to move in with you and all that stuff. Even though he knew that I'm not in this phase, but you know. It was nice. And then I remember this one time we went to a party with his friends, and again he didn't even notice me and only was with them. And he whispered to my ear um, his feelings for his fucking ex. Sorry for my language.
No problem.
Um, yeah, safe space. Which was shocking to me. I took the time to realize what was going on. I tried to talk with him. I almost broke it off. I should have. And he convinced me and said that I'm jealous and said a lot of stuff to me that I slowly started to believe in because I loved him. I didn't want to lose him or anything. That I wanted to believe that it was like nothing that is connected to me, which now is crazy to me to say it, but still, you do crazy stuff for the people you love. Um, and from that point, I guess it was a whole year, another whole year, that it was a battle between me and my love to him and my, I don't know, happiness, my mental health. I don't know. Because when you get used to believing him so much and like being used to this kind of treatment, and whenever you try to object to it, I listened to him again, which was completely my fault. It kept going worse and worse. And we're going to a flight to romantic Italy, and he talks about her. And we are going to ski vacation, and he makes me feel alone and a lot of stuff. But of course, there were good stuff also. I had fun with him, and we've been together all the time and all. It's hard for me to only. It's easier to show the bad sides, but I have to clarify that there were good sides also. Anyway, yeah. So in my country, there's a big tradition before university or in the gap year just to go for a big trip, we call it. And I've been like, it was a dream of mine since forever. He knew that when he started dating me, that I wanted to go for 6 months abroad. And I didn't know what the plan was. I didn't know what to do with him, but like, I know everything will be okay. I love him. It will be okay. We will work it out. And after a really bad year also with him and all that, he really tried to force me to either give it up, not going to specific places. It's too much for him. He wants to go. He wants me to give up on this, not to go with that. A lot of rules that I'm as a person is really not like this. I know that it might sound that I don't know, I might sound miserable for listening and being convinced to all the stuff he said to me and like agreeing to all this crazy stuff that I'm telling you about his ex. But for me, I still was myself. I'm very independent and strong, and I have a lot of friends, and I go to a therapist. I'm in the gym, like I'm a normal person. And for me, that when he started to put walls on my dream that is supposed to fulfill myself, and meanwhile I was working on myself with a therapist and all, and I noticed that I don't want to live by people's will when I don't want that. So at first, at June, I just couldn't take it no more. I saw that I was not happy. I was miserable. I was anxious. Everything was so bad to me. And the worst part was I didn't know how to recognize myself because he made me feel that I'm a bad person, even though he knew from our first date that I'm going to do that. Even though I told him I could give up on stuff to make him happy, but I will go to this trip. And for me to look at the mirror and like going in the streets in my country and like say, since when am I this bad, evil person? I don't know what is going on with my life. I knew that at first I should break it off and just like, start to see things clearly. So that kind of sums up the first breakup. And after 3 months of no contact, with me, the moment I break up, I'm very strong. I don't contact, I don't do anything. That's the end of it. He came to me and texted me and says he had to talk to me. Of course, after the first breakup in June, he begged for his life and he called me and came to my house and begged me all the time. Said I'm his love of his life and he will do whatever I want and I can go to my trip. I can go to my trip, yes. and all. And again, I'm coming back to the 3 months later. Um, he asked me to meet up. Now, I wasn't really, it was very fresh for me. 3 months are not a lot. They might be enough for some people to start dating, to start going out, to start stuff. But for me, it wasn't enough to be over it and to know all the conclusions. And I wasn't as strong because I didn't break up with him because I wanted to. I break up with him because I had to achieve my happiness again and my life again and myself. So I decided to meet him, which I'm happy about it, honestly. But of course, it was toxic again. We met up, and he told me how he took me. How do you say that? I'm sorry, I don't speak English usually. Took me for granted all this time and neglected me, and it was so horrible to me. And I'm right, and he's wrong. And he did it like in a way that was again so convincing and so made me feel as if maybe I don't want to change anyone, but maybe he changed. You know, the stuff you say when you're trying to convince yourself to go back to your ex. People,
Yeah.
don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. I took it for you. Don't do that, people.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we met up, we had dates. It was so fun. It was like the beginning. It was all crazy. I was having fun. And still, I told him, I'm not going to commit to you. I'm going to this trip. That's why I broke up with you. So no one will limit me. I need that. I've been in relationships all of my life. You knew that I'm going to do that. I tried to find a solution with you, but you kept giving me all these laws that. Anyway, yeah, he knew also that it wasn't fair because he did that too in his life. Anyway, I took off and we are talking, and things were going good. I've had a really hard part uh, going abroad. I was in South America, which is so different from my country and
Mm.
what I know. It was
Yeah,
like,
it's beautiful. It's beautiful in South America. I've been to Colombia. It's a beautiful place.
yeah, so I've been to Colombia for 2 months then.
Wow.
Peru and Bolivia is much harder for me culturally. It was the
Mm.
poverty and the people and the smells and it was
Mm.
amazing, but you get a shock, of course, when you've never
Absolutely.
traveled to places like that.
It's very different. It is very
Yeah,
different.
yeah, for sure. Colombia is even crazier, I can tell, but
Mm.
for just going
Yeah,
out, yeah,
they're very excited in Colombia. So
it is.
it's a very it's a very pleasant place. Like you
It's
feel
amazing.
they treat you like family in Colombia. It's a really great place to go to, but it's I don't think they know how to sleep because they're playing music like 24/7. You just
Yes, tell
it's
me
non-stop
about it.
party.
It's
Yeah, it's crazy.
you. They just party all day. I
Yeah.
love it. I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
with them. That's why I've been there for 2 months.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm going there, and I have this emotional support. He know everything about me. He knows what to say, and but still, I'm distant. He's telling me he loves me, he misses me. I don't tell him that, and being very stricted about my limits. But still, it was very comforting for the beginning. And then at one point, there was a really bad family event, and that kind of break it off. And I wanted to support him. I even thought of giving up and maybe coming to him because it was so big. I felt so hard for him because I know this event was something that this whole relationship I was with him about it, and that actually made it happen that I was more warm to him, and it felt as if we are coming back. So that was it. And then let's say we were talking for 2 months more, maybe. It was about to be December when I broke it off completely. He decided because of this event, it really affected him, that he needs a trip to himself as well. And he said he wants to meet up with me in one of my countries that I plan to go. And meanwhile, this is happening, I still get a lot of toxic phrases from him. I still get a lot of stuff that I just feel horrible. it was so crazy. It was so like mixed messages all the time. For one time he's so lovely and amazing, and the next time I feel like he's still angry and resent to me. So I'm like asking why even then making this new connection with me if you're like this. But no, anyway. And at first I said, okay, let's meet up. Okay, let's do it. But as time passes by, he's telling me what he wants to do, what he doesn't want to do, and made me feel that this is not what I need. This is not good for me. I wanted to go on this trip to. I didn't actually go to find myself. I did find myself, but I went on to feel freedom and I went on to meet new people and adventures and stuff. And it was just not for me. And when I told him, this whole time he told me he will respect me if I change my mind, if I this, if I that. And before he bought the ticket planes, I told him, listen, I think this place is actually not right. And I think that maybe you should go somewhere else. And we can maybe in the future try, but this is too much for me. I don't know. Only the text messages and meeting up for 2, 3 times in my country doesn't mean I trust you enough for you to, to rebuild it and to start over. I don't know because I've been hurt so much. And of course, he got so mad with me and threw all the toxic phrases he could at me. And that's when I realized nothing is going to change and this is not going to bring me any happiness. Um, and I had to cut it off. It was so hard. And again, there was like another time that he kind of again texted me, not respecting me, asking him not to contact me for this time. And he kept sending me messages. And he like the last message of him was like, you know what? I figured it out. I shouldn't go. It's your trip. I understand. I respect you, as if it was his choice. And again, I told him, okay, thanks. And then again, he had like a really crazy long message about how bad I am, which was really hard for me because I felt I respected him this whole time. But this time I had my friend with me who really supported me and made me feel that confident in my side, and I knew that what I'm doing was right. And that's it. And 2 weeks later, of course, he started dating someone else.
Wow.
Which was yeah, lovely. But he can do whatever he wants. Like it was okay. But for me, I really believe in no contact. I'm super strong in that. Whenever I make
Mm.
this decision, it reminds me on the breakup that he told me that he treated me the way he did because he really believed with all his heart that I would never leave. That's why he was okay with treating me like he did. Anyway, I blocked him. And then I saw that he blocked me too, as if he was going to get any messages from me. But okay, whatever. Anyone does whatever he wants. But yeah, that was the end of it in December. And since on, I'm still reflecting and still thinking about it. And I have a lot of emotional support from my friends and my family. Everyone on my side doesn't really know him, by the way, but he's
Mm.
super happy for me for doing that. And now that I've been through so many experiences with so many new people, I've seen how much people would actually want to do so much for me, not in a greedy way, not in this like low way, but in a real deep, meaningful way. People actually made me realize all the stuff that he made me believe I'm not. Like I thought that I'm not a lovable person. I thought that I don't look beautiful. I thought I'm not smart. My music is not enough. I'm not enough. Whatever I do, like it was crazy. I from not in June recognizing who I were in the mirror, from now looking and actually appreciating myself. It's been a long way. So that's
Mm.
basically it.
Wow. Yes, that's
Yeah.
quite a journey. That's quite a journey, Daniel. And so
Yeah.
thank you, thank you for sharing that.
Of
And
course.
yeah, I'm sorry that you've had to go through that. And it's really tough. It must have been quite traumatic in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
It
in
it
a lot of ways,
it's
yes.
it seems to me with someone like him, as you've described. I
Mm-hmm.
think people tend to project onto other people what they hate most about themselves. So when someone is saying you're not good enough, you're ugly, you're this, or they're comparing you with someone else, that what they're really doing, they're comparing you with them. They're comparing, okay, this is what I really hate about myself. So I'm going to project that onto you to bring you down to my level. Kind of sounds like what he's been doing, which is really sad. And
Mm-hmm.
so before I get any further with that, how do you
Yeah.
feel? How do you feel right now?
Okay. First of all, about what you said, now when you say that, I keep remembering how he was like trying so hard to be a man, to be a macho, to do all this crap that I knew
Mm,
wasn't real. I don't buy it when people try so hard to be something and then they're usually the least of what they're trying to
mm,
be.
yeah.
So I can understand what you're saying because he was always so frustrated and always so angry. I was so ashamed of his behavior towards waiters and people with service and
Mm.
stuff like that. That's a really huge red
That
flag.
yeah, that's a red flag. Absolutely.
That's like
I
run. But
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
absolutely. And I think I've actually been on dates with women like that that have
Oh
treated
God.
waiters and waitresses really badly.
Mm,
And yeah, so I never used to say anything, but I called it out now. I'm like, hey, they're doing their job. They're bringing us food.
yeah, yeah.
Say thank say thank
I'll
you.
just like block and run, like run straight,
Yeah,
not looking backward, just run.
yeah.
No, I'm
It's
kidding,
definitely
but like,
yeah.
yeah,
It's
it
no,
says a lot
it's
about a
definitely
person.
yeah. Absolutely. And being a man, just reflecting on what you said about him trying to be a man.
Yeah,
Now, now I do think men should be masculine, but in a healthy
of
way. Now,
course.
a healthy masculine man doesn't
Totally
need to
agree
go.
with you. Yes.
Yeah, doesn't
I,
need to
I
go around doing that. They're normally they're comfortable with who they are, so they don't need to scream and shout. They don't need to
exactly.
bring other people down. So, like a lion doesn't walk around roaring at everybody. Everyone knows
Exactly.
that that lion is in charge because he's just walking around with confidence. He's not shouting and screaming. He's just I'm in charge kind of thing, you know. So when I think anybody, male or female, when you got to scream and shout, that doesn't show confidence. I think that
Exactly.
shows the exact opposite.
I couldn't agree more. It reminds me of two things actually that I've been through. I gotta say, I cringe a lot from the bullshit I've been through, but sometimes, when things like that happen and you just can't believe you've been through that and you
Mm,
like took it, like for me, it's crazy. But yeah, it was me. So, like for me, an example, whenever I'm talking about this thing, this topic about being the manliest man, all that and all, for me, I always be reminded that there was this time we've been on a party and he rode me on a bicycle, sorry. And he was drunk and we fell off and that made me
ooh,
break my leg.
ouch.
And yeah, not fun, but I was okay. It happens. But I was really hurt. I was drunk. I started crying. I was like panicking because of the pain. And he shouted at me so hard that we need to go home and he wants to go and that we shouldn't stay, although it was only the first minute it happened. Um, so hard that I didn't believe for my pain for a week. So only after a week carrying my leg this way, I only went to the doctor realizing my pain was real and I broke it off. Like it was
Oh,
insane for me. Like I just didn't believe it was that much. And then it's not the worst part. He moved out to another apartment and I helped him with the three-level floors of his new building with no elevator and my broken leg. I helped him painting and I helped him moving stuff, and I was so happy to do that. But after such a long day, and he lives, I mean, in a place that has a lot of cafes under his place. I only asked him if he could bring me coffee because I wanted from the morning, and it was with my broken leg very hard. And still, he told me he's not going to do that. And I said, okay, I'll just grab for myself and go down the stairs, I guess.
no, it's so
He
sad.
sent me to buy him also coffee. So that's like a pretty good example. And when I try to communicate him that, I did all this stuff, I broke my leg, I
Mm,
had to take the stairs and all, that's kind of humiliating in a way. He still manipulated me in a brilliant way to believe me it was on me that I went to buy this coffee. So my point is, when you're like obsessing with being a man and all that, and then you do shit like that to your woman,
mm.
it kind of contradicts it in my way. But not really as a man, but as a friend or a boyfriend or whatever. I think that's like some
Even
crazy
look, even
behavior.
yeah, look, even if that was a stranger on the street, like I said,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
a healthy man would not do that. Look,
Exactly.
our job as men in the world is to protect. That's what we're designed to do.
Right.
That's what we're designed to do. That's what
And
men do. Yeah.
when I talk about protection, exactly this, when you talk about manhood, you always think about being protected, as long as, maybe for me. Um, and then it reminds me, this is kind of on the shallow part, but when I'm talking about my traumas from the past, and he doesn't really listen, and if he listens, he's saying, I'm feeling sorry for myself, which I know I'm not. Um, that changes, that when you love someone and you really trust their way of thinking, it can traumatize you a lot. And for a
Mm.
very long time, I didn't believe that my crap that I've been through was for real, like that it counts. I
It,
don't know how to say it. And
it,
like my
it,
broken leg, I didn't believe my pain. It was insane for
it
me.
sounds, yeah, it sounds like he was gaslighting you quite severely. Have you heard of that term, gaslighting?
Yeah, I've actually from your group learned what
Yeah,
that is.
yeah.
And I think that it's exactly it.
Yeah, we have to be careful with that because I think gaslighting is thrown around quite a lot these days, and I think many people don't truly understand the meaning of gaslighting. But I think this type of manipulation that he's put you through is gaslighting of of the highest order because he's convinced you that your version of events, your version of
Yes,
reality, it is not real. It's all wrong, and that's ultimately what gaslighting is. Is trying to. It's like me coming up to you and I take your phone, and you're like, "Oh, why'd you take my phone? Give my phone back." I didn't take your phone.
exactly.
Have you checked?
Exactly.
Have you checked your pockets? And even though you've seen me take your phone, I convince you that the phone just went missing and it wasn't me. That's gaslighting. So it's he's used all of that to convince you that your pain is not real and his pain is worth more than yours.
Exactly.
That kind of thing. So that brings me to the next question. And a part of the coaching process is to identify why we stayed for as long as we did, or why did we ignore the red flags? So
Right.
I
Right.
guess my question would be, and what I'm going to say is this might be a little bit, I don't know, unfair,
Hmm.
but I'm going to say, right, what the reason I'm going to say you can't say because you love them, right? Because
Right. Right.
everyone says that, everyone says that. So
That's
everyone
easy.
says,
I
yeah,
agree.
because I love them. So, but
Right.
when we really dig down into it, it's like, okay, why did you allow yourself to be treated this way for so long? So why
Okay.
what do you think happened there?
Okay. That's an amazing question. And that's what I was trying to find out with myself these past few months. And I can totally say it with no doubt. I just didn't believe I was worthy
Mm,
for any love that is like sort of normal. Before him, I've been through stuff on my own, and I've been, as I said, in a very, very toxic relationships. And like for me, when I first met him for the first time, someone is making effort to make me feel good, and he looks good, and
mm,
it's from my word, and everything is so perfect. He takes me to new places that I've never been. I think that I hang on to the version he showed me at the beginning,
mm,
and I really
yeah.
all the time try. It's like I've always talked about my breakup as if I'm a drug addict. Sorry if that's a trigger, but when you get that first sensation and then you don't get it anymore, but you might
Mm.
get, you try to get it all the time, and you just like you
That's
become sort of an addict.
that's it, but that's accurate. That's exactly, if you was to break it down in a scientific way, that's exactly how it is. It's
That felt like this.
that yeah, that massive dose of dopamine that we get in the beginning is so high. We're forever chasing it, and it's
Right.
even real drug addicts go through this. Like someone, like they take a drug for the first time. It doesn't matter what the drug is.
Right.
That's the best that drug will ever feel for them. And then after that, the second time they take it, it's still good, but it's not as good. And
Exactly.
it's just like your favorite food. Let's say, I don't know, the first time you ever tasted ice cream or pizza, it's like, oh wow, this is amazing. And it's your
Yeah, that's like
yeah, it's your favorite food, but it's never
exactly.
as good as it was 10 years ago or when you was a kid. It's never as good. You just remember differently. And that's
Right.
exactly what happens. I think we fall in love with that initial, as you said, that version of himself that he gave you in the beginning, that mask. And then we build this idea of them in our head. And that's what we attach to. And then, so we're hanging on to the past experience and we don't live here and now. So, okay, well, it was great 6 months ago, but what's actually happening today? Because if this was a job, if this was your career, okay, when I
Right.
first started this job, it was amazing, but it's been really toxic for 6 months. Like the new bosses came in, it's really toxic. I don't want to be here. Now, some people stay at their jobs for way
Right.
longer than they should, but most
Right.
people say, well, I don't have to be here. I can go and get another job.
I think that when it comes to relationships, it's even harder than to leave a
Oh, yeah,
job, because
absolutely.
when you get comfortable, it's very scary. What if I never find that right person? What if this is the best? What if I'm just
Mm,
being too dramatic? And I think that a lot of people like myself tend to blame themselves when this kind of change that we talked about now is happening, because for me, after 2 months, and I can tell you, those 2 months were toxic as well. It was not as
mm,
perfect as I built it in my head also. But anyway, when I felt back then, for me, that all of a sudden this guy that I'm in love with doesn't ask me about my day and doesn't care if I don't know, if don't feel good or doesn't do anything he used to do this whole 2 months, and then he sends me to do stuff, like it was like for me such a drastic change that at
mm,
first I blame myself that I'm the boring, I'm not good enough, I need to do more and buy him more and go out of my way more just so I'll get this drug high, this
mm.
love that he knew to bring me. um
What do you think is the cause of that?
I think that it's always about. Okay, not maybe always, but as long as like I'm talking about myself, for me, it's always about the point of not really believing that I'm worthy of more and I deserve more, and it's not making me a bad person or egoistic or anything like that. To not allowing people with this kind of energy and this kind of treatment to stay in my life. For me, I got used to it from all these toxic people I've been with
Mm,
before, either friends or relationships, that it was easy to me to just allow it happening and not believing I deserve better. I
mm.
really
But
thought it was on me. I really thought that any minute now, and I'm not this guy. I'm not trying to flatter myself or anything, but I'm a girl who was always very chased by men and always had a lot of
mm,
friends. It's not as if like I had to hang on, because all of my life I never knew this. Like I was always alone, which is also hard and can happen to people. But that was not my situation. I knew that if I get out of this relationship, I will meet men, and still this kind of love feeling. I just couldn't believe my eyes that it is actually happening to me. That I just blindsided everything horrible that happened to me, and I myself, like a lot of people, tend to blame themselves, and when they're manipulated and gaslighted, it's even harder to see reality as it is. Even now, this whole conversation, I'm still wondering to myself if, as if maybe you and whoever will listen to that will say, yeah, but maybe she's trying to be the victim. When I know for sure, for sure, that I'm, first of all, not trying to be any victim. I know that I've made mistakes also, but that I was the one who was hurt. I was the one who was disrespected for sure. And still, my thoughts are lingering. What if you think that I'm just like feeling sorry for myself? You know, it's stuck with you, it stays with you, and you need to fight it every day to know your
Mm.
worth.
Well, I don't think you are portraying yourself as a victim because the very fact that you've had enough awareness to bring up that comment, say, well, this, I know it sounds like I'm being the victim here, but I'm actually, I got things wrong as well. So I think that awareness is actually very healthy. But what I would like to sort of dig into
Mm-hmm.
is you've said a few times already that most of your previous relationships were toxic. So now this is where it can get a little bit challenging, it can get a little bit triggering,
Mm-hmm.
because at the end of the day, we have to accept that everywhere we go, there we are. That it's me, I'm here. So if, like, for instance, if I keep getting with toxic women, then it's not the women, it's my problem. I keep choosing the same woman.
Exactly. For
So
sure.
so where do you think that's coming from your end? Why do you think that you keep getting into relationships with these toxic guys?
Um, okay, now when I've been with him, I met him when I was 21. So for me, I was a lot, much more younger.
Mm.
And as for that, I can say that I've had a rough childhood and stuff, like everyone else. I've had my stuff, which made me believe again that I'm very not worthy and very not like, and very easy to manipulate, honestly. That for me, the priority of being happy wasn't that. For me, my priority was to make people who were in my life happy and serve them and just live through their will. It was for that. I was that
Mm.
dedicated to that. It's crazy
That's
to me.
that's very interesting. Actually, it's not as crazy as it sounds, because I don't
I'm
know.
glad to hear.
There's a very good author who I'm a big fan of, a guy called Simon Sinek. He's a public speaker as well,
Mm-hmm.
and he says that the best way to have a good relationship is like, okay, how can I turn up for that person? How can I service my partner? How can I make their day a little bit better? But it has to be an equal amount, because if you're turning up, one, for yourself, first of all, we have to turn up for ourselves. We have to have that relationship with ourselves. But okay, I will love myself above all else. So if I can love myself above all else, then I can love other people. I can be there for other people. So, but at the same time, does your partner love themselves enough so they can turn up for you? Because if you turn up for your partner and they turn up for you and you're meeting each other's needs, then everybody's happy. So it's okay for you to do that. It's okay for you to say, right, okay, I want to make sure that my boyfriend or my husband in the future, I want to do everything I can so that he knows that he's got a fantastic woman, he's got a healthy, stable, unique woman, and he won't look anywhere else. That's okay to do that. But is he doing the same for you? Is he doing the same? Right, okay, I want to service my wife in a way that she's not going to look anywhere else, that she knows we're the right match. Now, the only way we can do that is to make sure the relationship with ourselves is fantastic.
You know,
And so
sorry,
so,
sorry.
so that's
Yeah.
okay. That's fine. So here's the thing, and another saying that I really like: we put out into the universe what we need the most. Okay, so I'll give you a good example. I'm good at listening. I believe that I'm good at coaching, and the reason I'm good at doing that is, one, because I want to help people, and I like to service people. But at the same time, when I'm down, that's what I need the most. I need someone to just listen. I need someone just to say, "Hey, okay, I hear you." And I very rarely find that in my life with some people. So does that make sense that you're putting out into the universe what you need the most in your own life?
Yes, it's like I think that for me, only now after the breakup, I started realizing that I never noticed, that looking up for things that I will accept. I'm trying to saying it as clearly as I can. I'm sorry. Um,
Boundaries. Do you mean you mean boundaries?
yes, but
Yeah.
yeah, I guess you can maybe standards even, because for me now that I'm meeting new people, new guys, new stuff, I'm like I feel a little bit more ready to start going out, even just for fun. And
Mm,
for me now, when I meet people who, when I tell stuff about myself, they actually listen, they actually ask
mm.
questions, they actually show interest. That sounds so low, but for me, I didn't know to ask myself if the person in front of me is actually doing it. I didn't know to ask that because for
Mm.
me, it wasn't as important. I didn't know, I didn't realize
Yeah.
I deserve that. That's crazy to me, also. But yeah, and I know that I've heard a phrase that my friend told me. Whenever you go on a date with someone, and you, it's very natural to ask, I wonder if you will like my hair, and if you like my looks, and if you like me, and all that. But at the same time, it's so important to even ask, do I even like him? Do I even like his personality? Do I even like
Mm.
whatever it is to like? And I didn't know to do that. I didn't know you can do that. Like it's
Absolutely. My mindset when I'm on a date. Now I shouldn't say this because people are going to think, okay, well that's toxic and stuff like that. But my mindset, and I don't say this out loud, and I don't go around like portraying this. My mindset is, okay, you're on the date with me. I'm not on the date with you. You're here to impress me. So that echoes back to what
I
you're
love that.
saying. Yeah, do I even like this person? Because I think what can happen is like, oh wow, I've got a date, and especially if you haven't had a date in quite a long time, we become too attached to one
Right.
person, to that one date. But if you can have the mindset of saying, well, okay, there's 8 billion people in the world. I've got a lot of options. I've got a lot of choices. I don't just have to stick to this one person in front of me. Okay, we're not going to meet 8 billion people. What I mean is the
No,
world
of course.
is a lot bigger than that one person. So if you can have the mindset,
Have the
okay,
mindset.
well, like, okay, convince me not to be single because I like my single life. What are you bringing to my life that is better?
Right.
Yeah, so you're on the date with me. Impress me. And if it's not up to my standards, if like a good thing would be, okay, if they're treating the staff at the restaurant very, very poorly, I will not see that woman again. And if she's not even asking any questions about me or interest, then that happens a lot, by the way. I've been on many dates where I'm sitting there and I'm listening and I'm listening and I'm listening, and they're just talking and talking and talking. I'm like thinking to myself,
That's
okay,
crazy.
yeah, I've been listening for like an hour and you've not asked me one question. So it's yeah. So you're absolutely right. Yeah, what your friend is saying is absolutely right. Do I even like this person sitting in front of me?
Yeah, and when for so long, again, I'm pretty young, but again, for so long you haven't been doing that, and then you open your eyes and you realize it can happen, and then all of a sudden, I meet other people. There was this guy who really like wanted to know everything about me and asked so many deep questions, and this guy brought me flowers, and this guy, all this good stuff happening to me without me changing or trying or forcing or like
Mm,
doing anything to please them, and actually being myself. I am still friendly. I'm still nice to people. I'm being okay, but like seeing that it can happen to me really changed the way. Um, if now I will get inside this kind of thing, I know for sure that I would never be able even to stay in this kind of position because I know
mm,
what I deserve. Maybe I think I have a clue. I don't know if I know completely, but I understand what are the minimum maybe standards
mm.
that I should. This
Yeah,
is
no, I get what you mean. I mean, Mark Manson, one of my favorite authors, and he says we're not. No one is right. We're just trying to be less wrong than we were yesterday. So we're always learning. So what
yeah,
is right today might be wrong tomorrow, kind of thing. But what I think this all boils down to for you, Daniel, what this boils down to is a lack of boundaries. And now we have to know what our non-negotiable boundaries are with anybody in life. It's like, hey, look, look, what you're saying is not cool with me. You need to stop, and if you don't stop, I won't talk to you anymore. So the problem with, well, not the problem, I guess the double-edged sword with boundaries is that there will be less people in your life, because people that don't respect your boundaries, you won't have them in your life. But the people that do respect your boundaries, that okay, there might only be three, four, or five people, but those are the people you keep around. So when going into the dating world, those, I would say, boundaries are even more important, because you say, right, okay, I will not allow you to manipulate me. I will not allow you to treat me this way. And we have to have these conversations very early on in the dating process. Now, I I coach I coach some people with some dating as well, and I tell them, look, within the first 5 dates, you have to establish values, you have to establish compatibility, and you have to establish boundaries in the first 5 dates. Because otherwise, what's the point? Because typically, if we've had 5 dates with someone, okay, you like each other enough to spend more time with each other. After, between date 3 and 5, sex will probably happen between date 3 and 5 if it's going that way. So those conversations have to happen very early on, and most people do not have those conversations early on because they're so scared to. How can I put it? They're so scared to be alone that they will have a bad relationship over having no relationship out of the fear for being alone, and
Exactly.
that is cancerous.
I think that a lot of time, when we start something, also don't get a guidebook. You don't know always what is right, what is wrong. Sometimes, it's hard to trust yourself completely, and it's hard to trust your gut and your instincts and intuition completely. And I think that was again one of my main problems. I didn't listen to myself when I
Yeah,
felt on a roller coaster, and I found myself really hardcore, crying and feeling so not confident and unprotected and so
mm,
confused at very early stages of the relationship. And I
yeah,
tried to fight with myself and just shut it down. I think that if I had listened to it, I would probably would be in a very, very better position in my life, with him or without him.
mm. Yeah. I agree, but you're only 23,
Yeah.
uh, and trust
No,
me,
I
I
don't mean
wish.
it in regret, but
Yeah,
yeah.
you're only 23. It's good in a way. It's actually really cool that. I mean, I don't like it that you're going through this kind of pain at the moment, but I think it's actually very beneficial, because when you do get to 25, 26, 27 into your 30s, and that's when you're more likely to be okay. I know the kind of man that I want because I've been with so many men that I don't want. So you know that kind of man. Okay. So
Yeah.
and when you do come across that man that you click with, you're vibing with, and he's just comfortable and healthy in his masculinity without having to dominate you.
Yeah.
See, that's
Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
the that's the guy you want to be around. So it's a case of we have to love in a way that makes the other person feel free. Because I try to tell so many people that have the relationship. Yes, that should be the most important person in your life, but you can only give 50% to that person, because they put their 50% in, you put your 50% in, that gives you 100%. You keep 50% back for yourself, for work, for family, for friends, for hobbies, for projects, whatever that is. So we have to maintain a sense of self away from a relationship. We have to maintain just, like, in a way, a single life. Not, I don't mean going around getting with other men or women or anything like that. No, you are exclusive and loyal to your partner, but you have your
Yes.
own stuff going on, and that's okay. And when you can find that balance with someone, and you say to your partner, darling, I'm going out with my friends Saturday, and he's like, all right, cool. Because for me, if I'm dating someone, I'm single. I'm single now, but if I'm dating someone and she's like, "Oh look, I'm going to my parents on Saturday, or I'm going to see my friend," I'm like, "Yes, I've got a weekend to myself." Because it's not like I don't want to be around them, but it's like, well, I've just spent the last 3 or 4 weekends with you. I want to do something else. So for me, that's how it should be.
I couldn't agree more. And even I can tell you that in this way behaved this way this whole 2 years completely.
Mm,
I've been super committed to him. I've made a lot of time to him. I took effort for him and everything, and still I made always time to see my friends and my family. It was super important to me to stay with the therapist and go to the gym and just do all this to feel myself. And still, in the way, I lost myself. So
mm.
I think it's always again coming back to that sense of knowing, even because it's so easy when the on the surface everything looks right. I couldn't agree more that it's so important to make time for yourself, to be in touch with your friends, to do hobbies and all, be to like to have a sense with yourself.
Absolutely. You got to
Even
have that relationship with yourself 100%. So that's what if we're going to take anything from this coaching session today, Daniel, the one thing I would encourage you to do going forward, obviously, look, you're not getting back with this man, and you know that because it's just not right for you, and
hell
that's fine.
no.
And as much as that does hurt, you love yourself enough to say, no, I will not put myself through that. I love myself too much to go through that pain, and that's totally okay. So it's actually really cool because most people listening to this will be listening to it from the dumpee side of it, and even though you're the dumper, which you had no choice, it still hurts. And I've tried to tell everybody, hey, the dumpers hurt as well. We go and look, I've dumped women that are not right for me. Just okay, we're not vibing, and it hurts. But
Yeah.
having those boundaries very, very early on. So I don't know, like what would be a boundary for me? Okay, so for example, if I see if the woman in front of me, being in the restaurant with the waiters, if they're disrespecting the waiters and not saying please, thank you, or may I, okay, right, I'm not cool with that.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care if that waiter or waitress messed up. Maybe they've had a bad day. Look, it's cool. All right,
No,
you've
it
done
reflects
nothing.
a lot about yourself as a person if you treat
Yeah,
people this badly.
yeah. So so I'd encourage you at some time write down your boundaries. So there are non-negotiable boundaries. What I will not accept this. I will not accept that. This is non-negotiable. Like for me, I would say like is this about? I don't know if this is a boundary or a preference. Like for me, I value health. I value physical health and mental health. So if I see someone that's got a challenge in their lives and they're not working on it, then I'm like, okay, I don't know. I don't think I want to be around you because we've all got baggage. We've all got problems.
Right.
But I've got infinitely more patience and time with someone that says, hey, Nick, look, we're dating. Just to let you know, this is what I'm dealing with right now. And sometimes I might act a bit funny, but I'm doing therapy. I'm seeing the doctor. I'm doing it. I'm working on it. I'm doing what I have to be okay. I'm like, cool. Thank you for telling me. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for sharing. Do you want my advice? Do you just want me to listen? Do you just want a hug? And if it is going bad that day, just let me know and we can sit down and talk about it. I've got so much time for anybody that would do that. But with someone that's not taking care of their physical health, if they're not taking care of their mental health, it's like, okay, I don't value that.
Right.
And we have to be very honest about that. So I guess that's not a boundary, it's more of a preference, but a boundary would be, okay, if we're going to have an argument, don't shout at me and don't swear at me. Okay, I swear a lot, but I don't swear at someone. I don't call people names, if that makes sense. I might say
Right.
fuck a lot, but I won't call somebody a bitch, if that makes sense. Like in a derogatory term. If we're having
Of course.
a disagreement, it's very much how I'm talking now. So for me, that's a boundary. It's like, no, you do not shout at me, you do not scream at me, you do not say bad words to me. These are the boundaries, these are the rules to the conversation. So I think it's very important that you establish whatever your boundaries are for yourself. So when you do get into your next relationship, you've got that sense of self. You've got that foundation, that self-love. Because for us to have romantic love, we have to have self-love. And self-love is the most amount of pain we can inflict upon ourselves. It's almost self-harm because it means looking in the mirror and taking those bits that we hate about ourselves and doing the therapy and giving that part of us love it's very painful. But that's the
Yes.
only way for me we can have romantic relationships. So finding someone else that's actually working on themselves, that's the challenge that I'm finding. I don't have a problem getting dates or anything like that. I have a problem finding a woman that, okay, am I going to spend the rest of my life with this woman? That's my challenge right now. And it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah,
And
it
that's
is.
why self love is so painful, because it means there's less candidates around. But the candidates that are left are far better, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that?
Yeah, actually, I think that now I started dating someone. He kind of waited for me this whole time to come back from a trip, and I've been on a date with him, and it was so amazing. And then when I came back, I've seen traits. Finally, I was so scared that in the next time I start something, I will not again recognize the red flags, or I just they would anyway. And now, for example, when I recognize that he, like you said, for example, that he kept talking only about himself, and I was back from a 6 month trip, and I was like
Mm,
expecting to show him stuff and talk about myself either. That for me was a really big turnoff. This is a really small example, but I guess that for me and maybe for a lot of people, um, it's so important to write down um, what are your, I will say standards, but it can be your demands or whatever you say, however you want to call it.
yeah,
Maybe that
boundaries,
will make you
standards.
more
Yeah,
self-aware. Yeah,
yeah. And it's important. There's two other things to that. It's important to communicate those boundaries. Maybe not on the first two dates because you're just getting to know each other. But if you're starting to get exclusive, then yes, that conversation needs to be had. And also enforcing the boundary. It's
right,
okay because a lot of people have boundaries, but they don't enforce them. And if we keep
right,
violating, see, like for example, if you say, "Oh, Nick, please do not say this word when we're talking because I don't like it," and all right, cool. But if I keep saying it and then you don't enforce that boundary, what you are then
right.
doing, you are
So that's
teaching.
no boundary. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. You are teaching me how to treat you. That's
right,
what you're doing. So we have to teach people how to treat us. So okay, these are the rules. Please don't
right,
violate them. You respect my rules, I will respect your rules. That's how it works. And that's how healthy friendships, healthy relationships, work colleagues, that's how it works. So it is very challenging.
yes.
But Daniel, I do have to start wrapping up because I've got another call in about 20 minutes. So we've run out of time. But before we go, is there any last questions? Is there anything, any words of wisdom to the audience that's listening? What would be maybe your piece of advice that you'd want
First,
to communicate to anybody right now?
first of all, I really wanted to say thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak, and whoever
Oh,
might
it's my
listen, thank
pleasure.
you.
It's my
This
pleasure.
is Um, for me, I think that as for being in so many situations, that if only I had listened to myself and trust myself that I am a good person, and I can decide for my life. I think that a lot of times you hear the cliche trust your gut. I say like whoever is going through something, just like choose your happiness time after time and see
Mm,
whatever is really true to yourself, and never give up on that, because this is the most important thing you can do. And whoever is right for you will keep up with that. Whoever really loves you will keep up with the rules or standards or whatever you think that will make you happy and right for you is okay. And my friends and a lot of people showed me that. So yeah, this
that's
is
good. Sounds like you've got good people around you. So yeah, that's another important thing is to have good people around you.
yeah,
Okay,
I'm glad.
that's yeah. I think yeah. There's no price to having good people around you. It's priceless. So listen, I would say look, I think it's been a very interesting conversation, and we've been trying to do this for quite some time, but you've been away.
Yeah.
So it's been great that we've finally been able to get to do it. So I do appreciate you giving me the time today. And look, I would say for someone of your age, I think you are digging into your awareness and what you and self-love, which is good because a lot of us don't discover this until we're in our 30s, like 30, 35, that kind of thing. So I think if you continue along this mindset that you're doing and working on yourself and say, right, okay, this is me, this is what I can, negotiate, this is what I will not give up. I think you do fine. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate you sharing your story and sharing it with everybody. So thank you so much. And look, maybe we can do it. Maybe we can do it again sometime. Maybe in a few months or something, you can give us the update and we can do another chat and put it on the channel.
Sure.
But okay, Danielle, thank you so much. It's been a
Thank
pleasure.
you so much as well.
Yeah,
Have a good
I appreciate it. Okay, have a good day, and I will talk to
Yeah,
you
I'm
soon.
going to write down all of my standards now. I'm going straight
Yeah,
away.
yeah, go and do it.
Right.
Okay, cool.